The Tim Heale Podcasts. Ordinary people's extraordinary stories.
Welcome to Ordinary People's Extraordinary Stories. Today I've got a fantastic guest. So without too much further ado, I'll introduce Margit. If you could tell me when or where you were born, not necessarily when you were born because you're a lady. If you can describe to me what it was like where you grew up, the schools you went to and the education that you received.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It's really a pleasure to be here on your show. I was born in Germany, in Bavaria, in a very nice, cute little town called Weissenhorn. That's about 1.5 hours away from Munich, and it's a very rural area, really countryside. So I grew up as a country girl, actually, and I had really a beautiful childhood. We were playing in the fields, we were running in the forests, and it was very natural. It was most of the time spent outside with friends, and it was really, really beautiful. So I went also to kindergarten in the same town, and from there I moved on to the school. I did my high school there as well. And it was an interesting time because there was not such a high technology as it is now. It was more like, the real life. You were playing, you were, enjoying what you did. And I graduated from that high school. And then actually on to study.
Whoa. We've gone from kindergarten to graduating high school. We've missed a massive bit in the middle. You're falling into that trap.
Yeah, see?
so let's just wind you back a bit. Let's have a look at the area that you grew up in, your town, your little village. What was that like? Was that like a typical sort of Bavarian village?
Yes, it's quite an old. It's between village and town. It's quite old. It's about 800 years old, and you still have the old city walls around it. You have the gates, so it's very picturesque actually. And even tourists are coming nowadays to see that place. So when you come there, you see. It's a huge gate, and there are like 3 white horns, the horns that you blow.
Yeah.
So those horns are there, and that's from where this town got its name. It means white horns, if you translate the name. So it dates back around 800 years, which is quite a while. And you still have these city walls intact, and then there was like a kind of old castle there. So that's still intact. Nowadays, it's like the town hall and the municipality. And you have also the second gate. So the original town still exists in all its town walls. And from there, it branched out. And you can imagine it's a very rural area. There is a small river flowing through this little town or village. And then you have a lot of fields outside, and then huge, big forests. Really beautiful forest. And it's a little bit hilly. It's not really mountains yet because it's just before the mountains, actually, before the Alps. So you don't have the high mountains, but you have like rolling hills everywhere. And it looks really, really nice. I mean, it's really beautiful. This little river is very cute. When I was very young, like 4 or 5 years old, we were actually catching fish there to show it to our mother. It's not to eat them, it's to show them off what we did. We caught this fish and we released it back in the river afterwards. So that's how we spend our time. Yeah, catching fish, catching mice. My mother was not too much into this bringing mice home and bringing fish home. And one time she bought a new shopping bag, beautiful, very expensive green shopping bag. And actually, I took it and I didn't tell her, I didn't steal it. I just borrowed it, you can say. I went to that river and I put these little fish eggs and everything inside. And I found a beautiful frog. And I was so proud that I could catch this frog. I put it also inside a glass. I brought it home. My mom opened the bag and the frog jumped into her face. And the bag was ruined. All the water from the river was in the bag. The frog in her face. It was a huge drama. But this was life in those days. So that's how I grew up.
Now, did you get remonstrated for it?
Yeah, I got. It was big drama at home.
Fantastic. So, so, so we are grounded for a period of time, and we're only allowed to just to go to school and then come home, or how
Yes,
long did grounded
yes.
last?
Yes, exactly. In the early days, it was like this. We walked to school. Even in the winter time, we had really heavy snowfall in the winter because it's Bavaria. So sometimes we had snow like 1 meter high or almost 1.5 meter high. So we were wearing big boots and thermal trousers and thermal underwear and jackets. And the snow was almost as tall as we were when we were walking to school, the little children. But it was normal, so there was no exception. You had still to go to school. It didn't matter how much snow there was, and it was very natural. Actually, it was just normal. We didn't have
Yeah.
a school bus. We were walking, and in the summer we were using the bicycles. So yeah, it was good exercise, and we went all the way to meet all the friends to pick up everybody, and then the whole group reached the school.
Did you go on skis at all? Did you ski to
Ah,
school?
I did ski, but not for long because I had an accident with the skis, and I I ended up in hospital. After this, I never skied again. So
No,
it was short-lived, my skiing career.
because I know I've been up in Norway and Sweden, and the kids actually go to school on skis.
Oh yes, exactly, exactly. That's amazing in
So
Scandinavia, all Scandinavia. It's really
yeah,
brilliant.
they're on the old cross country skis, and away they go.
Yes, exactly.
Minus 27 degrees, and they're out on skis going to school. Brilliant.
Yes,
And
I
we
mean
get a light dust
it's
in the
really good.
snow here in the UK, and the whole place comes to a grinding halt. We just come to a standstill, just a dust in the snow. It's brilliant. So, so going to school then. So you've done your kindergarten, and you moved on. What was your next school?
Well, yes, first I was kindergarten, then I was in elementary school. That was all fine. And yeah, then life got a bit difficult at home because my mother got ill. She got a mental illness when I was 8 years old. And then this beautiful and relaxed childhood, yeah, came to a very abrupt end, actually. From one day to another, things changed, life changed. Life wasn't easy and pleasant anymore. It was a very difficult time, but in those days, you didn't have like coaches or you didn't have psychologists to help you through or kind of self-awareness groups, self-help groups. It didn't exist. So more or less, you had to, yeah, to do it on your own. You had to keep going. You had to go to school. It was important still to have good marks. It didn't matter what happened at home. So you had to pull yourself together, really together, to keep going in a good way, in a routine way. And in the same time, yes, you had all these problems at home, so it became quite difficult, actually. So that's when things changed a lot. And because I come from a very, yeah, small town, it's everybody knows each other. So if something like that happens, and my mother suffered from schizophrenia, so that's very difficult, then people start talking. So you want to protect her. So you don't want that people know what's going on, because there is, especially in those days, there was a lot of stigma around mental illnesses, especially something like that. That's quite severe. So we always said she has a flu when she was in hospital. So she had a flu a lot of time during the day, many, many
Yeah.
months she suffered from flu. Of course, in the end, the whole village knew it, but we wanted to protect her, that she can continue as normal life as possible, which of course was not really possible. But we tried to give her the opportunity to stick together as a family, to help and to protect her. And that's what we did. And I think that helped her a lot, actually. But yeah, it's not easy when you're so young. You have this childhood before where everything is beautiful and so
Yeah.
easy and so enjoyable. And then from one day to another, you cannot bring friends home because you don't know what's happening at home. You don't know what will be when you open the door. So all this changed really from one day to another. So yeah, I had to grow up pretty fast.
Yeah. I mean, did that have an effect on your schooling at that time? Were you able
Uh,
to concentrate on your schoolwork? Did it have an
yes.
adverse effect at all?
Well, I see. When I was 5 years old, I knew I will become a doctor. Okay. Always, all my life, I knew I will become a doctor. So I was 5 years old, and I knew when I go to school, I have to choose Latin at school because doctors have this medical terminology. It's all in Latin. So you need to learn Latin from the beginning. And also, I knew I need good marks because, it's a very competitive field to enter a medical school. And so, although I had all these problems at home, I still studied a lot. I studied very hard that it didn't affect my grades. And it was not easy because in the end, my mother stayed in hospital for 2, 3 months at a time. And my father was working and my elder sister was also in school. So we were arranging everything at home, cooking, washing, doing all the chores. And in the end, it was just to arrange the time actually. And then I learned in the evenings and at night. And I really pulled it through that it didn't affect my grades a lot. So I was still a very good student because I had this goal. I was very
Yeah.
focused. I knew I need to have the grades. And in the end, I came to the point that it became routine because it happened all the time. My mother yeah, went to hospital. She came back another 2, 3 months, and we started the whole cycle again. So in the end, it became really routine. It became quite normal what happened. So you get used to it, and when she got sick for the first time, she had a very nice psychiatrist. She was amazing. This lady, she she called us in and she said, "Ah, yeah." By the way, she told my father, and we were sitting there, my sister and me. Your wife is suffering from schizophrenia, and in the end, it's not curable. She will end up forever in the psychiatric ward. And usually it's like this: the families break up, 90% get divorced, and the children either get addicted to drugs or they commit suicide. This was a message, when
Yeah.
you're 8 years old and you hear that, then you cannot fully grab actually what she said. And it was a real shock for everybody. But in the end, she was right in one way, that either you manage to pull it through, or you just stand up and you go down, and you'll
Yeah.
never get out of it. So there is no option. Either you become strong and resilient, and you grow with those experiences, with the life you have, because you can't choose it. It's like that. You have to accept it. Or you really become a drug addict, or you really commit suicide because you are not developing this resilience, this internal strength to pull it through. And in this respect, she was right, actually. Also, it was a little bit too tough what she said, but but it really stays in my memory forever. Even when I will be 80, I will still remember that story. So, and it was difficult. It was difficult, and what you said, it didn't affect my grades because I was really studying hard, but it affected the choice of my studies afterwards when I finished school. Because I always loved animals. And when I was 8 years old, I had a very cute little pet rabbit, black and white, two colors. And it was a female. Her name was Schnucki, which means cutie. And she was really such a cutie. And she helped me so much because my father thought that I do not really see what's going on because I'm too small. My sister, yeah, she stuck with my father because she was 4 years older and I was the little one. So everybody thought it doesn't affect me, but it affected me because I was standing on the stairways and looking down, and I saw what happened. I was looking through the doors. I could hear these scenes. I saw the scenes, but I couldn't process them because when you're in this age, it's too much. You cannot. But this little rabbit, this was it was my lifeline. I was carrying this rabbit all the time. I could talk to that rabbit. I it was like I could yeah, I could tell it all my deepest feelings, my worries. It was really like you can say not just my best friend, it was my confidant, my everything actually. And this helped me so much. And I truly believe that without my rabbit, I would have never been able to pull it through, because she gave me this support, the consolation, and she comforted me because she could feel how sad I am, how tough it was. And she was just snuggling in my arms, and she was giving me all the love that I needed. So she helped a lot. And later on, I had a huge dog, like a 100-pound dog, a massive dog, huge black dog, a crossbred, a crossbred between a black German Shepherd and between a Russian Terrier, and there was some collie in it, but she was fully black. And she helped also me and my mother. She supported me, but also when I went for my studies, she stayed at home with my mother. So whenever my mother was drifting away in her different world, this dog would just give it a paw to say, oh yeah, take me for a walk. So she interrupted her thought patterns. She interrupted her drifting in the other world. So she went for a walk. And like this dog helped her incredibly. Until today, my mother says that this dog helped her so much to heal. And I really believe that without this dog, things would have turned out even much worse. So that's why my love for animals has always been there. And through these very profound experiences, it became even so much more. So that's why I wrote the book, which I'll talk about it later on. But that was the foundation for everything.
We'll come to that. So let's move on slightly. Let's look at what your secondary school was like. Your high school.
Yes.
Was that in the village or in the town, or did you have to go to another town for it?
No, it was in the same village, and this was a very difficult school. This was one of the 5 most difficult schools in Bavaria. So it was a very strict, very high-level school, and they were really, really tough. I mean, it was really difficult to get good marks. You had to study very, very hard. They had a very high level, and people were coming even from different places to that school because it had such an excellent reputation. And it's quite funny because it's such a small place. But still, that school was really, really an important school, a really famous school. So it was really good. But it was tough because I had the problems at home, and then to study in a school that's already difficult. And the professors and the teachers didn't give the marks easily. You really had to do a lot to get good grades and good marks. So it wasn't easy. And I was, in those days, I was shy. I was a shy student, I think because of what happened at home. I was always very quiet. And because I studied a lot, I learned a lot, and I studied easily. I mean, I could always memorize well, I understood well. But I was too afraid even just to raise my finger and to say, oh, I know the answer to the question. I never did because I was so shy. And always when there was the parent-teacher meeting, always the teacher said, Margit, she knows everything, but I don't know what's happening. She's never opening her mouth, and we always have to ask her, especially. She's never raising her hand, but she always knows the correct answer. And it was true. I was really very, very, very shy in those days. And I think it came from all these circumstances at home.
So what was your favourite lesson? What lesson did you really get up for in the morning and couldn't wait to get to school for?
I loved biology. I was really crazy on biology. And then also, when I grew older, I loved French. So I did actually my A-levels in French, in English, in biology, and in economics. So, so I had the languages there, but I had enough from Latin. I finished after 10 years Latin, so that was enough.
So can you still remember your Latin?
A little bit, but I think I forgot most of it actually. But it helped a lot for French actually. Yeah, it was a good foundation for French also. But yeah, biology was my big love actually. Yes, I really enjoyed it.
So what lesson did you not want to get up for in the morning? What was the least favourite of your lessons?
Mathematics.
Which one didn't?
Mathematics. I had a teacher and I never got along with the teacher, and I was unlucky. You know why? Because this teacher lived exactly one street next to our street. So whenever I wanted to go to the village, I took another way because I didn't want to cross his house. He was very difficult and he was always shouting and he was jumping and he was very difficult. Everybody was scared of him and this was not my field. Mathematics, no, it wasn't for me.
So what about sports? Did you do sports at school?
Actually, we did, but I wasn't allowed to do much sport because I had a problem with my hand. Actually, my two bones of my arm had a different length. And because of that, I always had a kind of tendinitis. I had even to write for many years with a kind of cast because I couldn't write in a normal way because my arm was too bad. And because of that, I didn't have to do the sport because I simply couldn't do it. I couldn't catch a ball because it was too hard on my hand. I couldn't do all this kind of gymnastics and all these kind of things because I couldn't hold with my hand this, and I couldn't hold my own body actually. So this was a bit difficult, and because of this, most of the time I couldn't go for sports. So, but I survived it.
So did you do arts instead then? Music and
Yes.
arts?
Yes, I did arts, I did music and painting. I was in this field much more because I could do that and this was okay. So I learned playing the guitar and I was quite good at that time. Even I did some concerts with another girl. We played together the guitar and it was really nice. I really enjoyed it a lot. And I also was really good in these, like painting, drawing, these kind of things. So I really enjoyed it. Actually, until today, I love painting. I do some acrylic painting. Also, I don't have enough time. I would love to have a bit more time, but I love to do it. It's for me, it's so relaxing. It's almost meditative when I do a painting. I just focus on it, and I can forget the world around me. So it's really beautiful, and you can express yourself what you want to say, what is deep in your heart. You can just get it out through painting, through arts.
So what sort of things do you paint?
Sorry?
What sort of things do you paint? What's your
Animals.
muse?
Yeah, I
Animals.
paint animals. I never paint humans. I'm not good in painting humans. I think I'm much better with animals. So I'm painting, like, for example, like dogs, like horses. At the moment, I'm painting a tiger. So a bear, these kind of things, rabbits, these kind of things. But it's really nice.
Brilliant.
And flowers. And I also do a lot of flowers, yes. And then usually when I make flowers, I give them to my parents for birthdays or Christmas. They get like a hand painted flower, pretty kind of thing. So they frame it and then they hang it everywhere. So for them, it's the best gift because it's it takes a lot of time to do it, and you put all your heart, your emotion in it. It's not just look, you buy a book or you buy something for them and that's it.
Yeah.
It's from the heart. So they always love that. They enjoy that a lot.
So don't cut your ear off then. That's Van Gogh, isn't it? That's your inner Van Gogh.
Yeah, Van
He
Gogh
used
in
to
the
like
beginning,
painting
I would
flowers.
say. Maybe Van Gogh.
So, so let's move on again. What about when you graduated high school? What did you do after that?
After that, I started studying human medicine. I was lucky to get into the university immediately. I didn't have to wait because I had good grades and you have to do some tests there, but I passed it. So I studied human medicine for actually 2 years. And everybody was very proud. I was the first, the first human medicine student in the whole family. So it was a big thing for everybody. Everybody was really super proud. And in the first year, it was okay. It was all fine. But then I always felt there is something missing. Always these animals were somehow in the back of my mind. And it was always something like, it was okay, but it was never 200%. It was like 95%. That's not enough.
Yeah.
So what I did actually, I started doing night shifts in a hospital, in a human hospital. So I was actually in the intensive care in those night shifts. I started in the orthopedics. So I saw all these young boys who had the motorcycle accidents and they had amputated legs. After this, I didn't make my motorcycle license, which I always wanted to do. When I saw all of them, I was cured from getting that license, so I never did it. And then I moved on to the cardiology and then the stroke unit. So I had all these people who had heart attacks or just strokes. So it was really intensive. And it was really touching when you saw, like from one second to another, things can change tremendously. And I was good, and the people loved me a lot in that clinic, and I did really a lot of night shifts, but always these animals were in the back of my head. And then I studied, I did the night shifts, then I made an internship at a vet I knew, because to be sure of what I wanted to do. So after 1 year, I said, okay, I really need to look more into this animal topic. And then I wasn't sure if I will do veterinary medicine or maybe biology or some kind of husbandry or whatever. So I went to some universities to check what kind of studies they have. And then it was about 6 weeks before the big exam after the second year. I woke up in the morning and it was amazing. It was like I come out of a forest and all the fog has lifted, and you come out of this forest, you come to a meadow, and the sun is shining in front of you, and everything is suddenly so clear. And it was clear for me that it was finished. So I went to university, I canceled the studies, I came home, and I told my parents at lunch. They said, why are you here already? I thought you're studying. I said, actually, I'm not a student as of today. I canceled all my studies. My God, my father almost got a heart attack. He didn't speak with me for 6 weeks. His face got red, then he became white and red again. He was so shocked because he thought his daughter will become a doctor. I mean, wow, it's amazing. And then I
Look
canceled all
after
the
him in his
studies,
old age, and then he's got nobody to look after him.
Yes, exactly. And then the point was, in Germany, it's very difficult to study veterinary medicine. It's very difficult to get into vet schools. So it means at that time, when I was applying for the veterinary university, it took around 7 years of waiting time. Either you got in immediately and you were lucky if you had the highest marks and you had to do another special test exam for veterinary medicine, or you had to wait for 7 years. And I was ready to wait. I mean, I knew that's it. That's the right thing. And it was so clear for me. This path just appeared in front of me, and I didn't have any single doubt anymore. Everything was clear for me. So because I was not sure if I can enter the veterinary studies, I applied for a au pair in UK. So, and this au pair place had no children. There was a pony to take care of, some fish, 2 dogs, a cat. It would have been perfect, actually. Good life. but then I got the admission. So I got in immediately. I was really, really lucky. And from that moment onwards, I never looked back. It was just perfect from day one. And although the veterinary medicine studies are really, really tough in Germany, it's really hard. I just pulled it off. Even in pharmacology, in this exam, usually around 90% failed. I was among those 10% who passed it in the first go. So it was just made for me. I was just going through it so easily. I don't know. It was just like it was meant to be. So it was perfect from the beginning, actually. And so I became a vet.
So let's have a look at that little journey through vet school. So I'm quite interested to know, how do you start? Do you start off on like insects and then work up to little mammals and then work up to bigger mammals and then work up to the big stuff and then you get on to the really big stuff and the dangerous stuff that can bite and eat you, or just a sort of it all sort of intermingles, as it were. You learn bits about all different animals because they're all different.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
That's totally right what you say. They're all different. And this makes it more difficult than human medicine because you just have one human and then it's just male and female and that's it.
yeah,
So actually, when we start veterinary medicine, we have 2 years of preclinical studies. So that's like chemistry, biochemistry, anatomy, all these preclinical. So you don't touch really an animal in the first 2 years. It is all the foundation courses that you have to do. And then only you move on. And then you move on in the beginning, now like in the third year, you move on and you start having like pathology and microbiology to get a better foundation. And then you start with the animals. And always you have different courses. For example, in the beginning, you have like dogs, cats, the kind of normal kind of things.
Yeah, the
But later
domestic
on, then,
animals.
yes, domestic animals. Then horses come a bit later, horses and cows and farm animals. They come together with cows, so all the ruminants actually. And then you also have special classes like fish or bees. There is a special. In one semester we had to do bees completely, all the bee diseases. Then you have also the exotics. Exotics, like oh my god, I can tell you, when we started with those exotics, it was amazing. We had a class, the professor called me out, let me sit on a chair in the front of the whole class. And then he said, oh, I have Boris for you. You know, this was the time when Boris Becker won Wimbledon. This was exactly after he won the Wimbledon. And then he had a big box and Boris was inside. And you know who was Boris?
It's a
Boris
big
was
snake.
a big snake, a boa constrictor with almost 3 meters. So he put really heavy, you know. I never thought these huge big snakes are so heavy. He wrapped his tail around my leg, you know, my thigh, and then the head came around and then he came like this in front of my face. Yep, this was Boris. And you're like, ouch, what do I do now? It was the first time that I had ever such a close contact with a snake, and especially such a huge snake. And she was just going around my leg, and then it got tighter and tighter, and I didn't feel my leg anymore. She just put herself alone. And we had to practice actually how we give injections, what are the places where how we examine the snake, where we give injections, where we can take blood and all this stuff. So you have this, I don't know how many kilos Boris weighed, but he was very heavy. You have this snake looking at you like, oh yeah, hi guys. It was really an experience. And the other students were so happy that I was the poor one who had to carry him. They were all far away, happy that they didn't have to hold the snake. But
Did
actually,
that cure you of your shyness?
yeah, it did. And you know what was the most fantastic thing? Those snakes have a skin like velvet. Amazing. I could never believe they have such a beautiful skin. So when I touched him for the first time, oh my God, he was so soft, really like velvet. It was an amazing feeling. After this, I became friends with Boris. So we became really nice friends. But it was amazing, really. So, you know, you learn a lot of things. And we had then also birds. So we had avian medicine, mainly like poultry, chicken, and ducks, and all of that. But then we started also getting some raptors, like especially injured buzzards, some hawks, and then some falcons came. And I found them fascinating, you know, those falcons. Oh my God, you know, those little black eyes. And when you look at them, oh, they were just stunning. They were so majestic and so impressive. And I think I fell in love at first sight with them. You know, it was just wow. I saw them and I was hooked. It was really it was amazing, like a virus that never let me go. So it was really amazing with them.
So, so how long were you at vet school for?
We have around 7 years. And then you can move on, for example, to do a PhD or something like that. So that's what I did. And while I was still in vet school, I did one semester in France. I studied in France as an exchange student. And this was really good because in France they had a different system. So I learned a lot of surgical methods there, and they helped me a lot later on. So most of my surgery skills were actually learned in France, so not in Germany. Germany gave me all the basics and the theory knowledge, and the surgery came from France. So it was a good mix. And yes, after I graduated, I decided to go for a PhD. And because I loved falcons so much, I went into falcon medicine. And while I was still a student, I had done an internship at that time in Dubai, in a very, very small, tiny private clinic for falcons. And I saw they have problems with their feet. So they always had swollen feet, like infected feet. And the doctor did a surgery, and then they came back after 2 or 3 weeks, and it was all the same again. So I thought maybe the surgeries don't help so much, because if they suffer from the same problem again after 2, 3, 4 weeks, it means it wasn't the major help. So this developed into my PhD topic. So I did a PhD at Munich University in cooperation with that small clinic in Dubai. So I did my practical part in Dubai and all my theoretical and research part in Munich. And it was an amazing combination, because I was doing it as an external PhD student. So I also had time to do locums. So I did locums all over Germany, and it was amazing, because I got not just a good knowledge of different treatment methods and different clinics, but also I learned how to run a clinic, because I went, let's say, for 3 4 weeks to a totally different place, different clinic. I didn't know them. The doctor went on holiday, so I had to run the show. There was nobody who could help me. I just had a nurse to help me a little bit, but in the end, I had to do it on my own. So that's when the rest of the shyness completely disappeared, because I had to pull it through again. And it was a
So let me
very
just
good
let's
experience.
just have a look at the falcons for a second. Did you find what the issue was with the feet?
Yes, I
Did you
found
find a
it. It
cure?
was it was a kind of a multifactorial problem, and the main problem was a metabolic problem, because these are like falcons that were kept in captivity, and all these, you can say, these, toxins went to the feet, and it became swollen, and from there, because of lack of exercise, lack of, a kind of proper blood flow in the feet, they started to have these swollen feet and these problems with the feet. So in the end, the point was that they should be, first of all, massaged, to massage the feet, very helpful. And in the second place, they need much more exercise than what they got. And then what we saw over time, when they got more exercise, those problems really decreased, and in the end they disappeared, because the whole metabolism was working in a much better way, and this really made a huge change. So in the end, it was not necessary to do those surgeries. It was more the husbandry that had to be changed, and once we achieved that, the situation changed completely. And this was really interesting, that it was not like just you treat, and this was what I always say: you need to treat the root cause, not the symptom. The surgeries were treating the symptom, the infected foot or the swollen foot, but it didn't treat the root cause, the metabolic problem and the lack of exercise. So that's why I'm always very much to find the root cause for everything. I love to find the root cause. I love digging, and then in the end I find, because that makes the difference, and this helps to treat and to cure the animal. So that made really the difference, and this was an amazing time. It was really interesting. I learned a lot.
Brilliant. So moving on slightly. Once you got your PhD, what did you do? Did you carry on locuming, or did you find your own surgery?
No, actually, while I was still doing my PhD, I also became board certified in veterinary dentistry. So I'm also a dentist for animals. I can even make root canal treatment and brackets and all this stuff. Yeah. So after I finished my PhD and this board certification, I was offered a job at a university in Switzerland to teach dentistry. And at the same time, they called me from Abu Dhabi, from the Abu Dhabi Falcon Hospital, and they said, we have a job for you as a veterinarian. You want to come to us? And I didn't know them. I hadn't applied for any job. I had no clue about them. So, as simple as that. Then I thought it's a prank. Okay, I hang up. It wasn't a prank. It was embarrassing. Okay, they called me again. And in the end, I said, okay, I will go for 1 year. It's a different experience. I'm young enough. Let's go for adventure. So I said I for adventure, and I came to Abu Dhabi. And what I had completely underestimated was that Abu Dhabi at that time was pretty much conservative, and all the falconers, of course, were men. And this concept of a hospital for falcons was not really something the falconers were used to. They thought it is a place, when your falcon doesn't eat for 3 or 4 weeks, then you take it there, but not for smaller things. So only for the really, really big, heavy things. And when I came here, most of the falcons were in such a critical condition. Either they died in the car on the way to us, or they died already in the reception. So in the same time, I was the first Westerner female, first Western female. They never saw a female veterinarian taking care of falcons. So I was a complete novelty. And they didn't trust me because they said, what, the woman, how she knows what she's doing? I mean, they're sacred falcons, Think about these Bedouins, who lived all their life in the desert, and really those tough men. And then I come along and I say, hi, I'm the new doctor. It didn't work out. It was a complete disaster. They didn't let me touch the falcon even. And the staff also didn't accept me because they were all men. Now she comes here as a woman and she's a Westerner, and what she cannot know anything. So this was the idea in the beginning. And it was quite funny because the falconers, they knew I was there because, it was, the rumors were spreading like a wildfire. Everybody was talking about me. When they meet in the match list, like in the evenings, they meet in places, they chat, they talk, they sit. Everybody was talking about me, but nobody trusted me. So what they did, they borrowed the falcon of their cousin, brought it for a fecal examination just to check the droppings, okay? That you don't have to touch the falcon, just to see me. This was the whole idea in the beginning, just to say, oh, I saw the new doctor, okay. And it was a very tough time. If I would have known how tough it would be, I don't think I would have accepted the position, but that's it. So it's good that we don't know what comes in the future. And then slowly, the emergency cases came in. And then suddenly they survived. They were not used that an emergency can survive because before they all died. So then they thought, okay, maybe she knows really something. So slowly they started building trust, but it took a lot of time. And it didn't just take time with them, but also for my team. Because after half a year, the previous manager of the hospital just disappeared from one day to another, and I became the manager of the hospital. So I became in charge, not just as a vet, but also in charge of the whole team. And then I started changing because I knew from all these locums that I did, what was the problem, what I need to change. So I started changing. I turned it upside down. Really from A to Z. And this was the big shock. For those who survived, the rest was anyway, let go. But those who survived, they had to get used to a different way of working, different workflow, different hygiene, different treatment. I brought a lot of homeopathic medicines with me from Germany. I do a lot of homeopathic treatment for falcons and for animals in general. So everything changed. But then over the years, they saw that it made sense. And then slowly, the falconers started trusting me. And then things became all right. But it was really super difficult in the beginning.
And during that time, did you have to learn to speak Arabic?
Yes, I learned it because those falconers, a lot of them were Bedouins and they didn't speak English. And I had a receptionist who translated for me. But like when I had a broken leg, it was easier for me to show them on the x-ray, this is the broken leg, here we need to do something, and it needs to stay 4 weeks in the hospital. So like this, there was no more discussion because it had to stay 4 weeks. So it helped me to establish an authority, if I could explain this to them. And then things became much better, actually. And like, for example, like those broken legs or broken wings, before I came, whenever a bird had a broken leg or wing, they would be just put down because nobody could do it. And I started doing the surgeries. It's like in humans, do you put pins inside, you put wires inside, and they heal. And then they hunt again. So they started seeing that even these kind of things can be treated, can be operated on, and they can recover again. So it was amazing.
So how long did you spend in Abu Dhabi in the end?
I'm still there. 22 years. It's now 22 years. 1 year became 22 years. And over the years, the Falcon Hospital became the largest hospital for falcons in the world. Became the leading center for falcon medicine worldwide, and we did also a lot of research work. I discovered 2 new diseases in falcons that I published internationally. So I wrote a book about falcon medicine to help veterinarians in other countries or even falconers in other countries to treat their falcons in a better way, because it's a very specific knowledge and you don't learn this in vet school. So it's difficult even in other countries, even in UK or in the US, to treat those falcons, because I get a lot of emails every day from vets or even from falconers, and they have problems. They don't know what medicines to use. They don't know what to do. So that's why I wrote this book, to help them also a little bit, because the knowledge that I have with my team, it's amazing. So I like to share it. I think like this, all the falcons anywhere can benefit. And I even established a special training program for veterinarians and veterinary students. They come to us now from 42 countries already. So like this, we also spread this knowledge on an international level. That's important in my eyes.
Wow. So bring us up to date then. 22 years in Abu Dhabi.
It's a long time. It's a long time. And even the hospital has become one of the major tourism attractions in Abu Dhabi. So it's one of those places. Even Queen Camilla, when she was still the Duchess of Cornwall, she came to us for a visit. So even President George Bush came, because it is unique in the way how it's set up, and that's pretty cool. To go from the Bavarian countryside to meet your queen, or to meet President George Bush. That's pretty cool. That's an honor.
Terrific.
Yes, I'm still here, but I moved on. Yes, I moved on. Of course, I'm still in the hospital, but um, I think the main changing point was when Dr. Wayne Dyer came to the hospital. The famous American motivational speaker and author. He just passed away a few years back, but at that time when he came to Abu Dhabi on a visit. Actually, he was on a visit to UAE, and he said he needs to see that hospital because everybody spoke about the hospital. So he came. And he was supposed to stay for 1 hour. It turned out to be 3. Okay. He didn't go. We had an amazing connection right from the start. Oh my God, it was a feeling like we know each other for a long time. And we finished the hospital in 1 hour, and then we were sitting in front of the hospital on a nice little bench, and we were just chatting nonstop. And then he said something, and I think this changed my journey. This was the beginning of the journey that changed, when he said, "You're the love. No matter where you go, you take this love with you, and you can do so much more than what you do." And those words have really resonated with me, because, he didn't know me. We just spent those 3 hours together, but somehow he could feel that there is more, that it's not the end yet. And this was you can say, really like the foundation of thinking what else I can do. And then I realized that because of those experiences with my mother, I'm more sensitive, and I have a different feeling, a different intuition, not just for animals but also for people. And because I worked so much with animals before, I didn't realize that. And when I studied human medicine, in the end, I understood that I did it because I thought I couldn't help my mother enough. It was a kind of feeling of guilt. That's why I did it. Also, my mother said I helped her tremendously, but I didn't feel it myself. So that's why I studied human medicine. And when Dr. Wayne Dyer said this to me, it all started to come back, and it all started to sink in my mind that, yes, I have this intuition. And that's when I started the journey, for coaching, life coaching, and mental health coaching. So this is what really started it all off. And the point was, in the beginning, I was just thinking about it. But then I said, yes, I think I can really do more. I think he's really right. And then I started to enroll in an American Institute for Life Coaching. So I became a certified life coach. I became a master life coach. I did neuro-linguistic programming. I became a master in this as well. I became a life purpose coach, happiness coach. And then I got certified by the International Coaching Federation as a professional certified coach over time. But still, it was not 100%. I liked doing it. I did it, like the Falcon Hospital plus this one. But it wasn't 100% right for me, and I could feel that there is more, that there is something which I didn't do but which is missing. So I was looking, what's that missing piece? And then the missing piece started slowly to come together, those pieces. And one was actually that I just by accident I saw a Facebook ad from my institute about a mental health coach course, and it was interesting. I saw it on Tuesday. I saw it and I said, wow, that's so cool. I don't know. This really attracts me. There is something on it. Okay. I sent an email to them. I said, I'm interested in doing that. And can you let me know more about it? They sent back in the same night. They said, oh, that's interesting that you asked. We have one place left and it starts on Friday. And I'm like, oh, wow. It starts on Friday. And it was Tuesday. I enrolled in the same time. It was really meant to be. So I enrolled in this mental health coaching course, and in the same time, I had enrolled in a course about horse-guided empowerment because I love horses and I have horses. So it is like to help people to get, their inner emotions and feelings out. So the horses can help tremendously. It's amazing. Sometimes when you cannot reach so deep, the horse can do it. So people start opening up to the horse, which they cannot do to people, to the coaches. So it came parallel, those two courses. And what I didn't know when I enrolled in the horse course, that it was also about trauma coaching. So in the end, the mental health coach course and this horse course was just matching perfectly, because in the end, it was all about trauma and how we can find this deep-rooted trauma. And again, going to the root cause, what I always love to do. It was just perfect. I love doing it. It was just wow. And then I continued with mindfulness and meditation. So I'm also a mindfulness and meditation practitioner. And then it started to fall in places. But still, there was somehow something which was weird. Something I knew there is still something missing. And I couldn't even describe it. I know I had already a lot of certification. I was certified by the International Coaching Federation as a professional coach. It's wow. But still, I knew there is something missing. And then suddenly I said, I don't know. I have to go back to my hypnosis course. I had started with the same institute a hypnosis course, but I didn't have a feeling for it. So I stopped it. It was basic hypnosis. I stopped it for 3 years. And then I don't know how, but I knew I have to do it. So I did it. I finished it, and it was, wow, it was amazing. Now I had the drive, I had the feeling for it, which I didn't have 3 years ago. And before I finished it, I knew I need to go for advanced hypnotherapy. So I sent again for the institute, said, guys, you have now this hypnotherapy advanced course. Can I join that? Also, I didn't finish this, but I'm always in the end. Then the lady said back, oh, we know that you study hard. Actually, you're not allowed normally to go for the advanced course, but we know you already and you study hard and we know that you will pass it and you will finish everything. Go ahead. You can start next week. And I'm like, yes. So I studied in the coming week. And it was amazing. I loved doing it. And in one of the classes, one lady spoke about a book. It's called Life Between Lives by Michael Newton. And it describes the life when we are dying, when our soul goes from one life to the next, if you believe in reincarnation or past lives. And I had never really thought about it. Yeah. Yes. So I had never thought about this, especially. And then I said, oh, this is interesting. I ordered the book directly after the class, which normally I don't do these things, okay? I got it. And then actually what happened, my uncle and my auntie had passed away very unexpected. So I was going to Germany to the funeral, and this book reached the day before I traveled. So I took the book with me. And on the flight back to Abu Dhabi, I was reading this book in the flight. And it was amazing. It was like, I knew whatever is inside. It was not that it was strange or weird or crazy. It was just familiar. I just felt I read a totally familiar book. It was an incredible feeling. And when I came back to Abu Dhabi, I said, oh, I have to go into this past life regression. So I was looking first for this life between lives, but you needed to have past life regression. So I contacted one person who was working together with Michael Newton, and he studied with all these famous people. So he was really, really good. And I said, I want to do this past life course. And the past life course was about 4 weeks later to start. And then he said, I need to do an interview with you because I need to know your qualification. When did you finish your hypnotherapy? I said, actually, I just finished it 2 weeks back. And he said, oh my God, normally it's not okay. And then he spoke with me and we talked. And then he said, you really have a feeling for that. It's some people, they don't have, but you are really into this. Okay, I let you join the course. And I'm like, wow, oh my God, it's amazing. And then then it became tough. I enrolled on a Friday, and on the Sunday after, 2 days after, my sister passed away. Completely unexpected. She just passed away in her sleep. She got a heart attack. She didn't even wake up. And this was a huge shock. This was a tremendous shock because she was not old and she was not ill. So it just, from one second to another, everything was finished. So I traveled back to Germany, and then they told me a story, my parents. And if I wouldn't have read this book, and if I wouldn't have enrolled in this past life regression, I would have never believed it. I would never even understood it. What actually happened that when she passed away in the middle of the night. And when they found her, it was on the next day afternoon, after lunch. So when my father came, he said that she had a beautiful smile and a wonderful, wonderful, happy face, like she was shining. And he said, she told him that she loves him, and he hugged her, and she was so happy that he was there. And then slowly, slowly she faded, and she faded away in the light. And what actually happened, this was her soul that waited for him to say goodbye, to comfort him, because she passed, because she was daddy's girl. And if I wouldn't have read this book, I could never even by far have understood what happened. And because even the doctor said she passed in the middle of the night, so she clearly was already gone in the morning and when they found her. But what he described was word by word what was written in that book, word by word. And he never read this book. My father is just living for figures, He's a very rational person, he's not esoteric at all and nothing. He's very straightforward, very rational. And when he told me that story, I really, it was amazing. I thought, I can't believe it. And when I came back, exactly after I came back, after 1 week, this past life regression course happened. And then it all came together, then I understood it. And this was the missing piece, the last missing piece that was there. And I think I could have never understood it if this wouldn't have happened. And it was very difficult, but it opened my eyes to those things which I always said. I'm a veterinarian for a long time now, and I've always said, all my veterinary career, I said, there is more between heaven and earth than what we know, that what we commonly know. Because I've seen this so many times with animals, Yes, as a doctor, you can do a lot of treatment, you can do a lot of surgeries, but there is always this little thing that they need in those very critical cases, which helps them to survive. And that's what I've always said. There is more which we do not know, which we cannot understand, which I, as a scientist, and I mean, I'm a real scientist by profession, I'm a researcher, but which we cannot understand. And this was actually the missing piece. And then it was like, the circle was closing, everything came together. And now I understand it in a totally different way. And this is where, all these experiences that I had, and because I have also this intuition because of my mother's illness, where it all comes together now. And it's a journey which I never thought I'm going that way. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, I said, oh, you're crazy, really. but it is so natural and it feels so familiar. It is just amazing, actually. And I think Dr. Wayne Dyer was right when he said that, yes, I can save the animals, but I can also, help and heal people, and because I have this intuition. So I think it all comes together now and it falls into place. So that's why I'm working now also, especially with people who are traumatized or who do not even know how deep they're traumatized, to go to the root cause of this trauma by using this mental health coaching. And also, if they want to go back to hypnotherapy or even to do past life regression, because even there, like even physical problems today can come from a past life. And I have clients who suffered from physical ailments in this life. And because we went back, they disappeared. So it is really amazing. And that's why I'm doing, I call it now deep inner transformation in 30 days, because I go with all these very specific tools to find the root cause of their problem and to create a healing process for them.
Wow. So bring us right up to date. And your
Yes.
book.
Yes, right up to date. Yes, I'm writing books. Yes, I'm an award-winning author. I've written a book because I love animals, as you have seen already. It's called Your Pet, Your Pill: 101 Inspirational Stories about how pets lead you to a happy, healthy, and successful life. And these are 101 stories, a lot of stories, my personal stories, my life stories, my animals of people I know, but always each story has a science part. So there's always scientific information. Let's say that, for example, if you have a heart attack and you have a dog, there is a study that after 1 year, only 3% of those pet owners, dog owners, pass away compared to 20% if they don't have a dog. So even they help us to live longer. And I put all this scientific information. Even Alzheimer people, they start to improve with their cognitive function if they just look at a fish tank. Just to look at the fish in the fish tank helps them. So what I want to do, I want to raise awareness that it's not just you have a dog to go for a walk and to lose weight and have fun. They can do so much more for us, but we are not aware of this normally. We do not even understand how much animals can do for us. For example, they can improve our endorphins, they can improve our hormones, our happy hormones, love hormones. Just 5 minutes petting a cat or a dog will increase these hormones, which means even our body starts changing. And I find this really fantastic. That's totally amazing if you think about it. So they can do so much more for us. And that's why I want to do it in those stories. They are funny stories, really nice to read. But you will say, wow, they can do this for us. And that's what I want to achieve. I want to change the mindset of people when they look at their pet. I don't want them to say, I just have a cat. I want them to say, yes, this cat helps me in my life. It makes me healthier. It makes me happier. And it's changing my life totally. So that's what I want to do with the book.
So where can people find a book?
They can find it on Amazon, Amazon.com, or the other Amazons. It's a soft copy, like a Kindle book, or they can have it as a paperback. And it's really, really nice. It has got a lot of awards in America already because it is really a special book. So I hope that people will read it and they will look at their pet in a completely different way.
Is it an audio book?
Not yet. I have been thinking to make it into an audiobook. I think that's the next step. I was so busy with all this coaching in the meantime and making my coaching program. But yes, I think it will come as an audiobook as well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, Margit, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's
Thank
been
you so
amazing.
much. Yeah, it has been a long journey. And by the way, like for your audience, like for those people, who feel sometimes they don't know what's happening or they cannot connect with their own feelings, I've put up a free meditation in my website. They can just download it and they can listen to it to discover this amazing power when you reconnect with your own feelings, when you really feel that you are yourself again. And they can get it from www.coachformentalhealth.com/gift. So they can just download it for free and they can listen to the meditation. And I want to help them, to reconnect more with themselves because it's changing their life if they can do that. And then, of course, yes, I have also the coaching program if they want to do more, like deeper inner transformation in 30 days. That's a coaching program of for 1 month. And that's also on coachformentalhealth.com. And, people nowadays are so much stressed out and they are not listening to what's really happening. They feel so numb inside and they don't know even why. And that's why I love to drill down to the root cause, as I told you. So I try to help them to find the root cause and to live better and happier lives.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again. It's been really, really enjoyable having this chat.
Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you. And I really hope that your audience got some ideas for their own life and that at least I could help a little bit with that. And thank you so much for having me in your show. And you do a wonderful work with your show and keep going. I think your audience absolutely loves what you do.
You're most welcome. Wow. What a fascinating lady. What a terrific story. You'll be able to find out all the information, where to get our books and courses and everything in the description. So again, until the next time, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
The Tim Heale Podcasts. Ordinary people's extraordinary stories.